ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, dear Prabhujis. We are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. In our last session we read the 50th verse. Now we are reading the 51st verse. So another very beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita. Lord Shri Krishna, he continues his teachings and he says to Arjunji, कर्म जम बुद्धि युक्ता ही फलम त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्म बंध विनिर्मुक्तः padam गच्छन्ति अनामयम्. So very beautiful verse. कर्मजं बुद्धि युक्ता ही फलम त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्म बंध विनिर्मुक्तः पदम गच्छन्ति अनामयम्. कर्मजं बुद्धि युक्ता ही फलम त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्म बंध विनिर्मुक्तः पदम गच्छन्ति अनामयम्. Karmajam, because of fruitive activities. Buddhi yuktaha, being done in devotional service. He certainly, phalam, results. Tyaktva, giving up. Manishinaha, devotees who are great sages. Janma bandha, the bondage of birth and death. Vinirmuktaha, liberated souls. Padam, position. Gachanti, reach. Anamayam, without miseries. The wise engaged in devotional service take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they can attain that state beyond all miseries. So, very beautiful verse. कर्म जम बुद्धि युक्ता ही फलम त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः. The wise engaged in devotional service take refuge in Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death. Janma bandha vinirmuktaha. By renouncing the fruits of action in the material world, phalam tyaktva manishinaha. In this way, they can attain that state beyond all miseries. Padam gachanti anamayam, without miseries. So very beautiful verse. Swami Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, the liberated living entities seek that place where there are no material miseries. The Bhagavatam says, Samashrita ye padapallava plavam mahat padam punyesho murarehe bhavam buddhi vats padam param padam yad vipadam na tesham. Shrimad Bhagavatam 10.14.58. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Mukunda or the giver of Mukti, the ocean of material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. Parampadam, or the place where there are no material miseries, or Vaikuntha, is his goal, not the place where there is danger in every step of life. So Swami Srila Prabhupada further writes, owing to ignorance one does not know that this material world is a miserable place, where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance, only less intelligent persons try to adjust to the situation by fruitive activities. thinking that resultant actions will make them happy. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age, and diseases, are present everywhere within the material world. But one who understands his real constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead engages himself in transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikuntha planets, where there is neither material, miserable life nor the influence of time and death. To know one's constitutional position means to know also the sublime position of the Lord. One who wrongly thinks that the living entity's position and the Lord's position are on the same level is to be understood to be in darkness and therefore unable to engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. He becomes a Lord himself and thus paves the way for the repetition of birth and death. But one who understanding that his position is to serve, transfers himself to the service of the Lord, at once becomes eligible for Vaikuntha Loka. Service for the cause of the Lord is called Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, or in plain words, devotional service to the Lord. So, very beautiful verse. कर्मजम बुद्धि युक्तो ही फलम त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः. कर्मजम बुद्धि युक्ता ही फलम त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः. So, because of fruitive activities, karmajam buddhi yuktaha, those who are engaged in devotional service, or those who have Krishna consciousness, those who are conscious of the Supreme Lord and thus they are engaged, buddhi yuktaha, karmajam buddhi yuktaha, being done in devotional service. So karmajam, because of fruitive activities, buddhi yuktaha, being done in devotional service, he certainly phalam tyaktva manishinaha. So manishinaha, manish, intelligence. So manishinaha, those who are wise, those who are intelligent, and Swami Srila Prabhupada has translated manishinaha, devotees who are great sages, manishinaha. So karam jam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva, giving up, tyaktva, giving up, phalam, results. Manishinaha, devotees who are great sages, janbandha vinirmukta, janbandh, the bondage of birth and death, vinirmuktaha, liberated souls. Padam gachanti, padam position, gachanti goes, reach, anamayam, without miseries. So karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishinaha. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishinaha. Janma bandh vinirmukta. They become liberated. They free themselves from the cycle of birth and death. Janma bandh vinirmuktaha padam gachanti, they attain position or they gain position, padam, gachanti, reach, anamayam, where there is that position or that place where there are no anamayam, material miseries. The wise engaged in devotional service take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishinaha. Janma bandha vinirmukta. In this way they can attain that state beyond all miseries. Padam gachanti anamayam. So Lord Shri Krishna, he is asking Arjun ji to act in yoga. Yogaha karmashu kaushalam, the art of doing work. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. In the last few verses, Lord Shri Krishna, he is asking samatvam yoga uchyate. And what is yoga? Samatvam, evenness of mind, in happiness and distress, in gain or loss, in victory or in defeat. One should be equipoised because one is working for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. If one work with fruitive mentality, then he will be bound. So after explaining all that, now Lord Shri Krishna is saying, the wise, he is informing Arjun ji and all of us, those who are wise, those who are in knowledge, manishinaha, those who are wise, those who have knowledge of this material world, those who have knowledge of material miseries, janam mrityu jara vyadhi adi devik adi bhautik adi adhyatmik kleshas. So those who are wise, they have the knowledge. Brahmanasya vijanitaha. In the previous verses, Lord Shri Krishna told Brahmanasya tasmat sarveshu vedeshu. Brahmanas, they know the essence of all the Vedas. The essence of all the Vedas is to free oneself from the cycle of birth and death and to attain padam gachanti anamayam, janma bandh vinirmukta, janma bandh vinirmukta. So wise people, manishinaha, and Swami Srila Prabhupada has translated manishinaha as devotees who are great sages. So intelligent people, they become saints and sages, manishinaha, and they engage themselves in activities which are meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, in the service of the Supreme Lord. And by doing so, they free themselves from janma bandh vinirmuktaha, from the bondage of repeated birth and death, from the cycle of birth and death. So those who are wise, they free themselves from the bondage of, by dint of their knowledge, by dint of their understanding, brahmanasya vijanitaha, because they understand about Brahma, Parabrahma, they understand about soul, super soul, and they know the goal of life. The goal of life is to attain a position, a place, a position which is padam gachanti anamayam, which is free from all material miseries. So this material world is full of miseries, full of sufferings, and people, they try to adjust situation. They work with fruitive mentality because they think that the resultant action will give them happiness. Swami Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport, all of us, we want to work for victory, gain and happiness, and we want to avoid, because there is duality in this material world. So we want victory, gain and happiness, but we don't want defeat, we don't want loss, and we don't want miseries, unhappiness. So we are constantly working, all of us in this material world, we are constantly working, because there is duality in this material world. With sukha there is dukkha, with gain there is loss. If there is gain, there is loss. If there is happiness, there is distress. If there is victory, then there is defeat. So the material world is full of dualities, and everyone is trying to adjust the situation. As Swami Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport, everyone is trying to adjust the situation. He is trying to be victorious, he is trying to be in profit, and he is trying to acquire as much material happiness as much he can, and he is trying to save himself from material defeat, from loss, and from sufferings or miseries. So, all of us, we are trying to adjust the situation. We are trying to act with fruity mentality, thinking that the result of our activities will give us happiness, will satisfy us. But working with fruity mentality or the fruitive activities themselves are the cause of repeated birth and death. That's why Lord Shri Krishna in previous verses he told Arjun ji, Durena hai avaram karma. They are inauspicious as they bind the worker in the cycle of birth and death. So those who are wise, those who are intelligent, those who have understood the real knowledge, those who have understood about soul, super soul, and those who have understood that this material world is a place of misery, padam padam yat vipadam, they try to get a position. Padam gacchanti anamayam. Lord Shri Krishna is saying, Janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gacchanti anamayam. They try to get a position which is free from all material miseries. Padam gacchanti anamayam. And in the beginning of the purport, Swami Srila Prabhupada took a very, very wonderful verse. Another very beautiful reference from Shrimad Bhagavatam. Samashrita ye padapallavam plavam. Samashrita, those who take shelter, those who take shelter of Padapallava, the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, they are compared to very beautiful flower, like flowers. So the Supreme Lord, his lotus feet, they are like flower, lotus flower. So Padapallava plavam, boat. And the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord are like boat. By sitting on that boat, one can cross this material existence, Bhavam Budhir, the great ocean of material nescience, the great ocean of ignorance, material ignorance. It becomes Vatsapadam, very small, as water contained in calf's hoof print. Vatsa padam, param padam, by taking the shelter. So Samashrita, Swami Srila Prabhupada took the wonderful reference, Samashrita ye padapallavam plavam, the boat of the lotus feet of those who take the shelter of the boat of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, who himself is Mahatpadam. Mahatpadam Punya Yasho Murarehe, and he is known as, he is famous as the enemy of demon Muraha. So Murarehe, and he is the cause of all cosmic manifestation. Mahatpadam Punya Yasho Murarehe Bhavam Budhir Vatsapadam Parampadam. They attain that place. Those who take shelter or those who accept the boat of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, who is the cause of this material manifestation, cosmic manifestation, they come out of the ocean of nescience and they are interested. They do not want to live in this material ocean of nescience. Their aim is to attain Vaikuntha planets, Parampadam, where there is no material miseries. Padam padam yad vipadam na tesham. There is no material misery, There are no material miseries like this material world. In contrast, in this material world, there are dangers at every step. So Shrimad Bhagavatam is saying, in this material world, there are dangers because there are dualities. If Sukha is there, then Dukha is also there. If happiness is there, then distress is also there. If gain is there, then loss is also there. If victory is there, then defeat is also there. So constantly we are striving for fruitive mentality, for fruitive actions, and we are trying to adjust the situation. But we are falling in the cycle of, we are increasing this repetition of birth and death, and life after life we are engaging ourselves in this struggle, but we are not trying to make a permanent solution and attain that place, param padam gachanti anamayam, or param padam, where there is no padam yad vipadam natesham, where there are no material miseries. So that is the goal of human life. Those who are wise, those who are intelligent, those who have understood the essence, or those who have understood the purport of the Vedic literatures, those who are in knowledge, manishinaha. That's why Swami Srila Prabhupada has translated them devotees devotees who are great sages. So they become devotees of the Lord. They engage themselves in devotional service, or they engage themselves in activities which are meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Even if the engages Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, here he is not asking Arjun ji to leave the battlefield and do some worship. No. He is asking, engage in your Swadharma, because you are a Kshatriya. Engage in your Swadharma, but with a different consciousness. Your consciousness should not be to satisfy your own self. Swadharma is also ordained by the scriptures, and it is meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So that consciousness matters. Consciousness matters a lot. Bhavaha. That's why work done with proper consciousness, yogaha karmashu kaushalam. When work is done for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, it becomes yogaha. When swadharma, when duties are performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, not for one's own satisfaction or one's extended, for sense gratification or for extended sense gratification, when activities are done for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, that is one's constitutional position. That is the constitutional position of every living entity. So in the purport, the liberated living entities seek that place where there are no material miseries. Swami Srila Prabhupada is explaining. The liberated living entities seek that place. Padam gachanti anamayam, padam yad vipadam natesham, param padam. So liberated living entities, they seek that place. They are after that place. Their aim is not this material world. That place where there are no material miseries. The Bhagavatam says, Samashrita ye padapallavam. Samashrita ye padapallava plavam. Mahat padam punya yasho murarihe. Bhavam budhir vasapadam. Param padam yad vipadam na tesham. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Mukunda, or the giver of Mukti, the ocean of material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. Param Padam, or the place where there are no material miseries, or Vaikuntha, is his goal, not the place where there is danger in every step of life. So not this material world. And Swami Srila Prabhupada also explained in the purport that owing to ignorance only, because the living entities in this material world, they are in ignorance. So in ignorance we do not understand our constitutional position. as the servitor, as eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. So knowing one's constitutional position also means knowing the sublime position of the Supreme Lord. So those who think that soul and super soul are on the same level, those who think that living entities and the Supreme Lord are on the same level, they are not able to engage themselves in devotional service. Because one will serve other only when one will understand that he is inferior. Of course, not inferior in quality, but the Supreme Lord is Vibhu, while every living entity are his part and parcel, Anu. So when we understand the sublime position of the Supreme Lord and our constitutional position, and we try to act in that knowledge of devotional service, when work is done when service is done for the cause of the Supreme Lord, as Swami Srila Prabhupada told in the purport, that work is known as work in yoga or karma yoga or buddhi yoga. The work done with that consciousness, the service for the service of the Supreme Lord, when work is done with that consciousness, when activities are done with that buddhi, buddhao sharanam anvichyaha, surrender to that consciousness. Lord Shri Krishna asked Arjun in the previous verses. So one should understand this, and those who understand this, they become wise, and they engage, they give up all the fruits of their activities, all the fruits of their action in this material world, and they free themselves from the cycle of janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gacchanti anamayam. Phalam tyaktva manishinaha कर्मजम बुद्धि युक्ता ही फलम त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्म बंध विनिर्मुक्तः. They free themselves from the cycle of birth and death. So those who are thinking that soul and super soul, that the living entities are on the same level as that of the Supreme Lord, they are not able to engage themselves. One has to understand that one is Anu, while the Supreme Lord is Vibhu. Supreme Lord is master of all living entities in all circumstances. He is the Supreme Father, and it is the duty of every son, every part and parcel, to serve the whole. Every son to serve the Father, that is one's constitutional position. So, those who think that the soul or the super soul or the living entity, or those who think themselves to be on the same level of the Supreme Lord, they paves the path for repetition of birth and death. They themselves try to become Lord of the material nature, and they engage themselves in fruitive activities or fruitive actions, sakam karma, and hence they become the cause of their own bondage, material bondage, and they go on in the cycle of birth and death, punarapi janma, punarapi marana, life after life. They are not able to liberate themselves. But those who understand their constitutional position and the sublime position of the Supreme Lord, they engages in devotional service, and they give up the fruits of all their material activities in this material world, and they free themselves from the repeated cycle of birth and death. Owing to ignorance, one does not know that this material world is a miserable place, padam padam yad vipadam, where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance, only less intelligent person try to adjust to the situation by fruitive activities, thinking that the resultant actions will make them happy. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within this universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age and diseases, are present everywhere within the material world. But one who understands his real constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikuntha planets, where there is neither material miserable life nor the influence of time or death. He becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikuntha planets. Param Padam, Padam Gachanti Anamayam. So, very, very important. One who understands his real constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikuntha planets, where there is neither material miserable life nor the influence of time and death. So, to know one's constitutional position means to know also the sublime position of the Lord. One who wrongly thinks that the living entity's position and the Lord's position are on the same level is to be understood in darkness and therefore unable to engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. He becomes a Lord himself and thus paves the way for the repetition of birth and death. But one who understanding that his position is to serve, transfer himself to the service of the Lord, at once becomes eligible for Vaikuntha Loka. Service for the cause of the Lord is called Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, or in plain words, devotional service to the Lord. So, Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, he is asking in one way all of us through Arjunji to give up fruitive mentality, to stop working for results, for one's own satisfaction. One should work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, even if one is executing his duty, even if we are executing our duty, our swadharma, that also should be done with proper consciousness for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Because every living entity, all of us, we are eternal servants of the Supreme Lord. So, work should only be done for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, or when work is done with that consciousness, when duties are executed, when Swadharma, as ordained by the scriptures, is done for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, then it becomes yoga. Yoga karmashu kaushalam. Then it becomes karma yoga or buddhi yoga, or in plain words, Swami Srila Prabhupada explained, devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishinaha. And one becomes manishinaha. Or those who are manishinaha, those who are wise, they engages themselves in devotional service. So karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva, giving up all results of their fruitive activities in this material world, renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. Janma bandha vinirmukta padam gachanti anamayam. They free themselves. The wise engage in devotional service, take refuge in the Lord, and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in this material world. In this way, they can attain that state beyond all miseries. Padam gachanti anamayam. So, very, very beautiful verse and very beautiful explanation. Very beautiful purport and so many divine Krishna conscious concepts, Vedic concepts in the beautiful purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So with this I would like to stop here. In our next session we will take the next verse and we'll try to understand that. So Jai Vishnupad Paramhans Parivrajagacharya Shrotrashat Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Jai. All glories to His Divine Grace Krishna Kripa Murti Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Lord Shri Krishna, all glories to Bhagavad Gita, all glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Holy Name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.